Not what I expected. Oh yeah, that's why. Because but I only exported that thing. Yeah, awesome. But still, because they open up the original. I mean, I made it 3 years ago or something. If I recall correctly. I don't really know how is that. Okay, first and foremost, delete the crap. Okay, so it just come on. There. So it wasn't just FBX. What it is then? Damn. Bing. The sound of death. And sufferingo. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do, so what I will do now is open the one where I import with just the FBX. That is not even here anymore. What the hell? It should be here though. Oh no, it's not, because yeah, because of that. Okay, let's first of all close this. Okay, so these are those things. So how is that? So because I have FBX and an FBX. For that, okay, let's just Late Night with Ferd. Late Night with Ferd. What it opens into? Mudbox and okay, that is geometry issues. that are like on the faces. That one I know, and oh yeah, that is over there. Okay. So firstly move, but it's good because at least I have my template thingy guy there. Salvaged. I thought it's gone, so but no, we have it there. So oh yeah, first and foremost, just gonna export that. What's happening there? Yeah, anyhow. First, importar or awesome. Void Priest FBX. They're gonna have. Okay, first and foremost, it's just why. Like not even. Oh yeah, I can. That's cool. Just have to grab it there. Oh whoa. Alrighty. That was our first character that anti-drove us. So yeah, that's the base smash, right? That I can remove now. So we don't need that. We have a cool base smash from 4 trillion years ago, right? Okay. Oh yeah, that's the one that was fucky. I also Gear VR Ritopo, that's like no, what's happening? Human. Oh, you human. How do I Gear VR Ritopo? Oh, okay. Layout. What's happening? Alrighty. I don't know. What was that? Okay, base smash done. Can I? And that was other base smash. Now that we done with that, just gonna auto map it now. Autoretic. Okay, so first and foremost, we're gonna do two files. Characters. That's why it's MV. Oh, okay. It's MV here. That's why I hate exhumating all projects. Actually delete now from here. Because we're gonna solve the base smash. Wow. Human base smash. Okay. So, yeah, it's getting late over here. Have I? Yeah, it's there. Okay. That is coming. That redemption. That redemption. Yeah, another salvage desert. Yo, and this one. There was one with the layout. I thought there was a layout already. Layout button for it. Can I have a button for the buttons? Yeah, I know. And if I, oh yeah, you can collapse that just so easy. Because it's either this one, nope, this one, yup. One of them applies the, oh, this one, yeah, that one. Alrighty. Yeah, here we mapping. Whoa. Shells. Give me the shells, please. Okay, I've done some sort of mapping there when we were doing that, like ages ago. Okay. But that's why we're here, fixing all these default stuff. I mean, at least the geo is there, so it's the same. Yeah, now we are talking. Now we are talking. And those are small ones, right? Now we will see. 2. I mean, it should be more like. Okay, let's. Hey, dude. It should be more like. Whoa. More like that. I'll do it. Okay. I imagined it differently. That's cool. So the face, yeah, that can have some extra stuff there. Yeah, that's cool. And for the hands, it's alright. Okay, so now we can save it. Semester. And maybe, I mean, at the same time, how will you do? Give me the head, please, if I can. That is the F button I pressed. Depends how far you are. So, because Mudbox was crying about some things here, but I feel like everything is a triangle, quad. It's like, yeah, just looking out for that there. Try it. I recall, but who knows, right? There are. Okay. Maybe the vertices. Okay, let's make it snowy. Whoa. So I can do that. And there is an easy button. What used to be clean up. Yeah, not much. I think we can send it to Mudbox. I'm a bit concerned. Completely reset. That is quite interesting. I automatically know. Okay, what's up? Oh, with that. Okay. Oh my god. What the hell is that? But my tablet is not in. And okay, so A and what? Oh my. Why? project list then. I don't know, I mean, getting set. Oh, not that much. Why? I mean, is it like, no. This was alright. Oh, come on. It's okay whenever I click. Okay, let's try it with the tablet, right? I mean, eventually we're gonna use it anyhow. So, why not now? Why not now? Then maybe start the washing machine. Washing machine emulator. It's my favorite game. So, and it's, yeah, there we go. Okay, first I just want to see if, yeah, and no, it does the same crappy thing, yeah. Oh my god. It's really good. Let's try it again. If not, then we just gonna... I remember it was easier back when I was in 2013. Yeah, that's all. Just make it work, okay. And oi, and it does things. Okay. Okay, we have something there. Let's see how much though. I can paint there flawlessly. After years of struggle, I defeated the UV demon there. It's happening, guys. I can use Modbox again. After God knows how many years. Okay, so like, well, forgot how it was. So how you set the colors? Right click. There was like something like that, right? Yeah, okay. No. Middle click? That's, oops, not what I wanted to do, but yeah, why not? Okay. Okay, so we have a layer list there. Oh, okay. Okay. Gonna get back to this. Sit back on the horse, shall we? Okay. There we go. So this color is obviously a dark one, but not that dark. Something more like, oh yeah, my monitor is not really color accurate, so do I have, I don't have the Pantones here. Okay, spectrum image, oh wow. So where was that, right? Maybe in my porn downloads. Okay, that too. Nope. There we go. And what I would do? Oh, you can do things like this. Something like that. Oop. And can I click there? So, how do I? How do you do? How do you save that, right? Okay, that's done, but okay, I'm not ready for that. Maybe. Okay. Mud box, yeah. Hey, so we have something there. Yo. Okay. Save. Or is it like, oh come on. I mean, right click. Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Oh, okay. Gonna learn it eventually. Okay. Something from there. Oops. Okay. I'm gonna get back. Can get accustomed to using a tablet again. And that's just blue and the shades of that. Poor boy. Okay. First poof. Is that like it's even darker? Yeah, that is darker. So we're gonna make that a little bit like okay. There's some good Wednesday. A little bit of the light. No happening go. Okay, it's kinda. Quiet black, but not quiet, right? Yeah. Perfecto. So, and that's, I don't know what's that gonna be good for, but hey, we have some colors. Oh, and before that, we can also pick up some color. Nah. That's quite a stranger thingy. So, oh yeah. because you have to explicitly press it right away. Click it, yeah, man. Okay, next up. We have stamps, and we're gonna need a stencil, right? Can we have a new set of them? No. Okay. Alrighty. First, let's organize a little bit with the amazing mouse. So we're gonna put the exports there later on, and let's see, and stamps as well. We have which one is, yeah, that's the one we need. Oh yeah, but that is JPEG, and we would need the, oh my gosh, cause okay. Yeah, because that's for like using it, and that's for as an icon. So okay, let's see. I think we have it in vector. I really hope I extracted it somehow 1 trillion years ago, right? Okay. What? Wow.
Live for nothing.
That's cool.
I am a failure. And I love it. Deviant.
That's cool. Yeah, man. Keep on keeping on. Love these guys. What's that? C plus plus? Oh, GLSR, wow. Hardcore coding over there. Okay. First, let's just try to do something with this art piece before getting into any sort of coding. So what I was about to do. Sorry about this. What was going on there? Oh yeah, there we have that, and we have these things. Oh, we are already everything right. Yeah, that's what I want to see. How about this one?
Sick yourself, Skywards.
Oh, it's coding everywhere. That's cool. Okay, we have that, right? Bam. So, if all goes well. Oh, come. I mean, not for right? Maybe it's just. No. Hope. Because that's the whole thing. No, that's fucking okay. Or maybe we can export as PNG. I assume. Yeah. Maybe this way around. Bing. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Whoa. And there was a thing, right? Like. Oh, and it says so. It's just not happening because if I keep hold. Why? Maybe it's because. No. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. With the pen it does work. So I guess it was somehow like that. Give it an extra. That is the extra layer. That is the extra layer. Okay. that's funny. Yeah. So if I press the buttons now, things gonna happen. Yeah, indeed, but not that, which is interesting. Oh, it does. Okay. So now that I go back there and I just select the white color, we'll be able to cheat my way through, right? Yeah. Oh, okay, cool, yeah. Yeah, and it also included that slide kind of foreshortened. I'm good with that. And now we're just gonna paint it black and done. No, and obviously we're gonna paint it with a dark color and why the okay. Okay. Oh yeah, what music shall we listen to? Okay, so I gonna. Oh, it's still on. Okay, so I gonna have. Oh, we still have plenty of plenty of leg. I gonna have Lou, and then come back and we continue on painting it.
Back in a sec.
this one goes out to Antti as well, because he mentioned that he likes to listen to interesting videos while I'm doing my stuff. So let's check this out. Oh, what was that? Okay, we can save that for up. Musical. Let's see what this dude was up to.
Trapped in this retrograde.
Whoa.
Have any of you seen Vivarium? If not, you need to watch it. I mean, wow. If you like Weed Project, you'll probably like the movie. And I had an opportunity to watch it last night, and it reminded me of many of the testimonies of people that have actually been abducted by extraterrestrials or something that's non-human.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they tell them to, oh, okay, why do you do the dishes? Why do you walk across the street? Why do you feel emotions? Why do you get upset? Why do you get happy? They may be very technologically advanced, but as far as emotionally, highly lacking. Well, if you watch the film Vivarium, this is a spoiler alert, this couple finds they go out and look at a piece of property in a house that's supposed to be the perfect property, and when they get there, they can't get out. They get stuck in this suburbia, and then one day they open up a box outside their door, and there's a baby in it, and the box says,
sorry, I wasn't following.
have any of you seen Vivarium? If not, you need to watch it. I mean, wow. If you like Weed Project, you'll probably like the movie. And I had an opportunity to watch it last night, and it reminded me of many of the testimonies of people that have actually been abducted by extraterrestrials or something that's non-human. And oftentimes they tell them to, oh, okay, why do you do the dishes? Why do you walk across the street? Why do you feel emotions? Why do you get upset? Why do you get happy? They may be very technologically advanced, but as far as emotionally, highly lacking. Well, if you watch the film Vivarium, this is a spoiler alert, this couple finds they go out and look at a piece of property in a house that's supposed to be the perfect property, and when they get there, they can't get out. They get stuck in this suburbia, and then one day they open up a box outside their door, and there's a baby in it, and the box says, raise this child and we'll let you go. So it's not a normal child, though. Within 90 days, it looks like it's about 7 or 8 years old. Within months, it looks like it's in its 20s, and it grows very fast. However, and I'm not going to give away all the spoilers, it does seem very alien-like, and they don't tell you what it is. They don't say if it's alien or virtual reality or some type of clone or drone, but there's some hints in the film that make me feel it is a extraterrestrial spaceship that's disguised as suburbia. The question is, how did they get on the ship? Because it doesn't show how that happened. And is it a virtual reality system that has it hooked up? I don't know. Very interesting. So something to think about. And I don't know if you've got some of these yet, but they're amazing. Go to agewithleek.com. This is a turmeric combo pack. It has 5 different ingredients in it that have anti-inflammatories, immunity boosters, vitamin C that's very bioavailable. You take 2 a day, you feel amazing. I feel amazing. I love these things. They're up to 51% off right now and free shipping. Go to agewithleek.com. They should call it Ageless with Leek. Halo, get some. All right, now let's talk about this film, because if you look at the nature of quantum physics, and if you look at the double slit experiment and the observation that affects the outcome of what you were observing. Like the observer affects the outcome of what you observe. Nanny.
That's true. Not with that.
All of this seems to be as if we're in some type of simulation. Now, is it mechanical in nature, or is it just the way the universal laws and nature works? And that could be much more likely. However, if we look at it, you know, I'm not 100% on that though. I'm actually not 100% on that. I wouldn't be surprised if we are in some type of simulation. I talked about this before. Imagine somebody tricking you into a VR game that might only last a few minutes, but you feel like it lasts multiple lifetimes. And the machine is able to learn from you, so the machine could then take that learning process and print up a body with that information and embed it into the DNA, kind of like how when you live through certain environments and you pass on specific genes, that almost is a subliminal message board that your body picks up on and reacts to and understands. And so, are we in a simulation? Are we in a ship flying through space, feeling like we're on this planet? Now remember, this is a live action role playing game. It's for entertainment purposes only. We're taking bits and pieces of science and woo woo and mythology, and we're adding it all together with this excellent film that I just watched that was certainly out of the norm. I was really impressed with not only the acting, but the way that it was put together. I would have liked to have known more, but I guess it just adds to the mystery. Maybe there will be a part 2, like what these things are. Are they clones? Are they extraterrestrials? What are they? And have they infiltrated the planet, and then they trick people into going into this ship, and then the people that go into the ship teach them how to act like a human being on this planet. Very eerie how that sounds so similar to that sounds so similar to the stories and testimonies you hear from people that have been abducted by extraterrestrials, by the Greys. And there's many reports of people that are told that, you know, why do you do daily routine things? It's just, you would think, well, why do they ask us these questions if they're so highly advanced? It's because they're different. They're a different type of species. They don't understand the way we do. And it also made me realize how important family can be, how important growing up in a specific environment and having parents can be, and how important the family unit is versus this cut and paste, clone and copy environment where you manufacture people without giving them proper nurturing and the proper environment. You've heard about the hybrid program. There's a lot of information that there is an absolute hybrid program where entities are taking people, they're manipulating the DNA, they are creating a new species and then bringing them back here. And I think that Vivarium was a soft disclosure with mystery, almost. Now, does it mean the director and the writer knew that that's what happens? Not necessarily, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had some information and heard some of these testimonies. There's just so many similarities. Suburbia. So you could actually teach the machine, you could teach these extraterrestrials everything they need to know, and they wouldn't even have to abduct you physically necessarily if they could learn enough through the machine, through artificial intelligence, through networks, through social media. Social media would be a brilliant platform for extraterrestrials to learn from the people. They can get your inner thoughts, and then the machine will become so calculated based upon predictive programming measures that it might not be reading your mind, but you will think it's reading your mind when it's presenting ads, because it's so advanced and it knows how to manipulate your subconscious into a conscious outcome, into actually doing something, turning it into actions, etc.
So we're gonna
the
give it
physical aspect, and then if they could set up corporations and companies that could get your DNA, they wouldn't even necessarily need to abduct you as much. Well, unless they wanted to test the results, unless they wanted to chip you or track you somehow. But then if there's other ways to do that, implement the people to do it so they wouldn't even need to be, they could
Was it age?
have the middlemen. So they wouldn't even have to get you.
Because there was a.
But the 3D computers now are becoming extremely advanced,
Well-
and they're still in near beginning stages. I mean, they haven't been
I mean-
around for more than 15 years,
Shoot.
and they're still kind of clunky. So some of the expensive ones, you can print up some
what
very
the hell?
nice things, but you have to spend some big bucks. What about printing biological bodies and then using electricity to wake the body up, and
Yeah,
then the AI
freeze.
interface will implement the knowledge into the DNA, and then with the nanotechnology, could you get the nanotechnologies to work in tandem with that they would actually be using frequencies from the cloud or from the wireless network that was actually programmed to communicate with the nanobots, so the nanobots would manipulate the host for specific outcomes and performances. Now this, you can find a lot more on nanotech, it seems like, or it seemed to be more popular 10 years ago for some reason. I was writing on it 10 years ago, and the information was more readily available. Now you have to go directly to the source.
Huh.
But if you take the nanotech combined with the frequencies, combined with DNA storage,
Age.
you could actually use people as not only the mining device, the storage platform, but then you connect that with the digital interface to understand it more, and you could be observing from another planet as long as you have a connection. Find the perfect genes, the perfect DNA outcome for the specific task, and then you have the genome sequence in digital format that you could then print. You could then print that digital format with, you could print a digital host with a digital format code. That's all you would need if you had the right printer
Okay.
and the right interface.
How do you do?
And it sounds very similar to the story of Adam and Eve and creating Adam and certain stories about they created man in their image, and these ancient Sumerian tablets and Babylonian tablets describing how at first they couldn't get the body to wake up. They built this body, like the Nag Hammadi scriptures talk about how they built this body and it didn't do anything for a long time, and they finally activated it. And if the universe is electric in nature, and you activate the host, if you print a perfect body,
Oh, that's the
and you activate the host, and you have the right code mixed with the DNA,
something.
you could duplicate or almost duplicate the host. Now, you're cloning somebody. Even if you clone somebody, that isn't that person. So you are creating a separate being. It's just a different way
Okay,
of
we're gonna
creating
have
in
to
physical
look
form.
into that right in the face. How come it was alright?
How long has the hybrid programming been going on? Because if you go back to, if they've been watching us for 6,000 years, you don't think that they would need this kind of information. See, that's what doesn't make sense to me. If they're the original watchers, if they are the progenitors of mankind, if they were here before us, then why in the world do they need to abduct people to find out why you're across the street or doing the dishes or turning on the television set or having a specific emotion?
Oh, damn.
That doesn't make sense. That makes me think that these are absolutely from somewhere else. They're not from here. And if they are from here, they're a more recent creation that became somewhat self-aware, thinks they're self-aware. And that might explain
Oh,
Daryl Sims' theory about these beings being cloned and hatched on a specific ship that might be around the rings of Saturn. So that would be, maybe they were there before and they finally figured out a way to travel from Saturn to Earth within the past 100 or so years, or could they actually be from a different dimension, which is a possibility as well. That's been talked about. It's also the future, the possibility of time travelers, that's been talked about. Through a long period of time, could they have been us at one period of time, left, traveled into space, came back thousands of years later, hundreds of thousands of years later, and they didn't have the same understanding because they didn't have parents. They were raised from the machine that didn't have the proper nurturing capabilities to give them the characteristics that most of us have. Yeah, so that leads me to, if these extraterrestrials are abducting people and asking them why they do daily routine things, for the most part, I don't see them being from here. Otherwise, they would have some of the same emotions, wouldn't they? What are your thoughts? Hit that bell, be well, thanks for watching. You're amazing. Make sure to subscribe, stay alive, think for yourself, or let the Borg do the work for you. It's your decision. Be the change you want to see.
How would you like to have knowledge the ancient Egyptians did? Would you like to know more about their archetypes, their gods and goddesses, their divine powers, their energies, the light body? Well, you're in for a treat, ladies and gentlemen. We have Normandy Ellis with us. Now, she is an author, speaker, world traveler, translator, workshop leader. Let me give you a quick introduction. If you go to her website, normandyellis.com. Normandy Ellis is a spiritualist,
we already laid that
astrologer,
out.
and certified clairvoyant medium through the Indiana Association of Spiritualists. 14 published books include the spiritual classic Awakening Osiris, translations from the hieroglyphs found in the Book of the Dead. She offers clairvoyant circles, metaphysical classes, and private consultations in phone or by person. She is a founding partner of the Two Ladies Travel Company. Also, let me give you a quick introduction to her works. Awakening Osiris, a new translation of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Hieroglyphic words of power, symbols for magic, divination, and dream work. The union of Isis and Thoth, magic and initiatory practices of ancient Egypt. Imagining the world into existence, an ancient Egyptian manual of consciousness, invoking the scribes of ancient Egypt, the initiatory path of spiritual journaling, going west. Wow. I'm going to see if I can get several of these books. They sound fascinating.
Can I delete that?
Now,
I can
I've
do
always
that.
been amazed with these ancient hieroglyphics and the power that the Egyptians held.
I can't even go back.
What information is Normandy going to bring today? Well, you're going to have to listen to find out. And also, have you been keeping track of gold and silver and cryptos lately? Smoking, ladies and gentlemen, you should definitely check out noblegoldinvestments.com. They will give you free books to help you get out of the rat race. If anything, just get the free books. But if you've got a pension, a 401, or an IRA, now might be a better time than ever, excluding yesterday, to get into gold, silver, precious metals. Oh my goodness. If you looked at silver just a year ago, if you got into silver a year ago versus today or even 6 months ago, you'd be doing exceptionally well. A lot of people are nervous about the market right now. If you want to diversify, you could even move it into cryptos, Bitcoin, Ethereum, which are smoking hot as well. Check them out. Noble Gold Investments. I'll leave the link specific in the video description box. Click the links, read the free materials, give them a call. And just to give you an example, this right here is a 5-ounce silver coin, as you can see. Now, this silver coin, being 5 ounces of silver, this is a token to give you an idea what you could be holding on to in your 401 or IRA. Just a thought. Real money. Halo. All right. Let's bring in Normandy right now. I'm excited.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. It's an honor to speak with you. How the heck are you?
There we go.
Well, I'm doing pretty well. We lost power last night during a big sonic boom thunderstorm, but we're on today.
Yeah. Are you in the Midwest?
Yes, I am. I'm in Indiana.
Oh, I used to live in Indiana,
Oh, where?
little town called Evansville.
Oh, I know where Evansville is. I got many good friends there.
Yes, it was a neat experience growing up in the mountains and then moving to Indiana. Though it was a big shift. It was a big you know, I was like, I didn't realize how much I love the mountains until I left them, and then I was like, I got to get back.
Yeah, yeah. I lived in Colorado for a number of years. That's where I started doing my work with the Egyptian was in Colorado.
With tell us about that. So how did you get started? Like what was the
Oh,
spark?
okay. Well, the spark was actually not to spook you out any, but it was I had a spirit appear in the back of my car. It turned out that some years before that, I had had a conversation with a friend named Robert, and Robert had studied with the Rosicrucians. They sent him to Vietnam to assist souls in transition, and so the Rosicrucians said, "We need to teach you how to do that." You
Oh
know,
yeah,
and
that,
so he
okay.
studied that for a while, and then he came back from Vietnam, and he was a writer, and I was a writer, and we were living in Kentucky, and he said, "Well, you should study the Book of the Dead because we were talking about mystical readings. You should just read it." I was like, "Sure, that sounds great." You know, I was ready to go get a beer. He was like, "No, you're going to walk across that street and buy that book, you know, in that bookstore because there's a book in there." And so I walk in and I buy Wallace Budge's Egyptian Book of the Dead. And I take it home and I don't think too much of it. And then that night, Robert comes by my house. And Robert had been someone who lived in my neighborhood. I knew him growing up. Our families knew each other. So we lived on the same street. And he said he had this big box with him and he was carrying all these books of the Rosicrucian teachings that he had studied. He said, "My job just sent me down the river." He worked on a riverboat. And he said, "I can't take these with me because my apartment has been condemned and it'll be gone when I get back. So I can't give them to just anybody. I'm giving them to you. And it's okay if you read them, but they're sensitive information." I was like, "Okay." You know, so I take the Book of the Dead, I take his teachings from the Rosicrucians, and he goes down the river. And I expect when he comes back, he'll come and get them. He never comes back. I moved to Colorado. And I was in Colorado for, I don't know, about 2 years maybe. And I thought, well, when he came back, he was going to, you know, write to my mom and I would send him the books, right? Because I took the books with me. You know, it was like I couldn't leave them behind. He told me they were sensitive information. So I was like, okay. So anyway, I go back to visit my mother and I open the newspaper and there's an article in the newspaper that said the body that they found at the bottom of the river was Robert's, and it had been shot in the back of the head. That's a separate story there. But the man died, and I now had these books, you know, and it was like I would open up my closet where the box was kept, and I would feel the closet go woo, 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 you know, it was like it had this charge. Anyway, I was getting my graduate degree in creative writing, and I had to translate from Spanish and then some other language that I knew. I didn't know any other language besides Spanish. My teacher said, "Well, what's interesting to you?" I said, "Hieroglyphs." And he said, "Well, get a good dictionary, get some couple of various translations, and you have this Book of the Dead, right?" "Yes." "Just start working with it. Just keep translating it. See what you come up with." He was a wonderful teacher because he believed that your curiosity will teach you whatever you need to know. So I worked on this translation for 10 years. I mean, I would translate it from beginning to end and I would realize, oh, there's some more in this that I need to get to. I mean, I put the imagery back in it and then I put the sound back in it and then I put the mythology back in it. And so I just kept translating it over and over again. And finally, my husband at the time said, "You're getting obsessive. You need to throw that away. Nobody cares about that book. And it's just making you nutty." I was like waking up at 4 in the morning, you know, uh, so I could work for 2.5 hours before I went to work. I had a little baby. I was like, "You need to throw that away." So we had this big fight, right? 'Cause I was like, "No, I'm not going to throw that away." So we had this big fight, right? 'Cause I was like, "No, I'm not going to throw that away." So we had this big fight, right? 'Cause I was like, "No, I'm not going to throw that away." So we had this big fight, right? And so I take this box of all of my copybooks and all of the texts that I've acquired, all of Robert's books, um, and I put it in the back of my car, and I'm driving up the road to throw it all away, taking it to the dumpster, crying hysterical, but it's like, yes, I'm doing the right thing. So, okay, I look in my rearview mirror, and there's Robert sitting in the back seat next to the box. And I think, nah, nah. And so I just keep driving, right? And about that time, I feel him reach over and put his hand on my shoulder. I mean, it was like I'd
Coming.
stuck my finger in an electric socket, like, and
I
I can
believe this is
remember, I
real.
can remember screaming. I was so freaked out, and it sounded like wah, 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 wah. It was really weird. Finally stopped the car. I look in the back rearview mirror in the back seat, and he's still sitting there. And I said, Robert, don't you do that again because you freaked the hell out of me. And then boom, he was gone. So I sit there a minute. I take the box. I open the trunk of my car. I take the spare tire out of the wheel well, and I put all of the texts and all of the books and everything in there. And I put the tire back on top of it. And I drive home, and I take the empty box to my husband and say, there, happy? Right? And it was about, I don't know, I kept working on it. I would go to work early and sit in the parking lot and keep working on it and then put it back in the wheel well. And about 4 months later, somebody who had been in that original workshop with me, the translation workshop, said, you know that text of the Book of the Dead you were writing? You wouldn't happen to have finished that, would you? Well, yes. And he said, well, I have a publishing company. I would like to look at your book. So that was my first book, and everything else went from there.
Oh, that's an amazing testimony. Thank you for sharing that. The energy that you're describing reminds me of a book that I had for several months when I ordered this thing. This was over 10 years ago, and it was a copy of the 72 Lesser Keys of Solomon. And it
Oh,
was,
yeah.
I
I
should have got a new one though. I shouldn't have got a used copy. That was a bad idea. I'm like, oh, it's only $100 on eBay. I'll get it. And I get that thing home, and it was a 1913 edition. And I opened it up, and one of the first pages had a watermark, but it looked like a demon, like the outline of a typical demon. And I'm not religious, but I was raised religious. I consider myself spiritual, but I'm very fascinated with the ancient mythologies from Egypt, Sumeria, Greece, the Hebrew mythologies and scriptures, combine them together. But my point is, I had that book for a few months. Kristen, my wife, didn't know I had it when I had it. As soon as I got the book,
Well,
you could feel this really dark, dense energy in the house. And I
Mhm.
finally just got rid of it. The day that I got rid of it, once again, Kristen didn't even know that I had the book. She came home and she goes, doesn't it just feel lighter in here to you? And I was like, oh, yeah, guess what? Here's
Yeah.
why. So I think the people that might have had it before were maybe doing some real negative stuff with it, right? Or something. I don't know, but there was some definite negative energy connected to it. And the reason I say that is somebody said, Rex, never get a used grimoire if you don't know where it comes from.
Right. That's right. That's exactly right. And, you do have to go by feel. And a lot of the energy, I used to love going to used bookstores, but you could pick something up and it was like, no, that's not it. You'd have to put it back. So, yeah, things like that, I buy new. I buy them new.
Now, your experience that you had where your friend came back to you in spirit and physically touched you, and he said, "Don't do that again. That scared the hell out of me," and then he took off. Do you
Right.
sometimes wish you wouldn't have said that because you think you might have stayed there a little longer if you wouldn't have said that?
Well, no, I have to say still in touch with him. I mean, he and I have developed a very close relationship over the years. Um, I talk with him when I'm working in spirit a lot. I mean, I have been trained as a spiritualist medium, and so you know, I I feel like I see dead people. But it's not a scary thing. It's one of those things that's very comforting because I feel like I have worked with spirit, and I have said, do not, I've told my guides, do not send me anyone who has suffered, whose family has suffered. Only send me people who have messages of light and love and transformation. Because if somebody has passed, and they, I remember the first time before I asked that, I was giving a message to someone, and I could see a young man with a rope around his neck. And it was like, I knew I couldn't give that message. That was not something that I could tell this person about. Um,
Oh, okay.
I All I could say was something like, I see a young man who died very suddenly and in a tragic way, and just want you to know that he's sorry. That's the feeling I got from it. But I didn't say anything else about it. I've
Cool.
had people come to me many times, people come to me because someone has passed through suicide, or had another woman, her son was murdered, you know, and she wanted to know if he knew who it was,
But if
you know.
I
Um,
erase,
and I thought, yes, he does. He knows who it was. And she said, well, can you tell me? And I'm talking to his spirit, and he says, I'm not going to tell you because I had a contract with that person when I came into this earth, and he has to finish his part of the contract, you know. So no, I'm not going to tell you. And I thought, okay, no, he's not going to tell me. And she said, well, he does know. And I said, yes. And she said, well, why won't he tell me? I was like, because that's for him to work out. He's already done what he needed to do. It's for that other person's soul to work out. It was interesting. It was an interesting experience in talking with those people. All kinds of people come to you when you're a spiritualist and you work with the people in the afterlife. And some of them have very nice stories. They tell really sweet little stories about, um, you know, remember when we lived in that house that looked like a wedding cake? And I'll say, this person's telling me that they lived in a house like a wedding cake. And there's like a congregation of 90 people, and one of them goes, that's my Johnny. It's like she recognizes it. It's like, okay, pretty good.
Do they ever describe to you what it's like where they're at?
Yeah, they do. And I'll tell you one thing, if they have passed recently, um, if it's been very recent, like up to 2 or 3 weeks ago, you can sometimes hear from them, but all you hear is something that they'll say, I'm over here, I'm doing fine, tell everybody I love them. That's all they say. They don't, because they don't have the wisdom that they need yet. If they have just recently passed, and especially if it's been tragic, they have to go to, well, I guess you'd call it like a psychic hospital or something where they're being healed. They go in and they have to do a life review, and you have a quick one, but then there's like the longer one where you're working on your karma, and so they're not going to have a message of love and support to someone that they have injured until they've been gone for some time and they've worked on it. And so, like, after, I don't know, about a year or so, you hear from them and they've kind of worked things out, and they can tell you, they've developed their capacity to see what's going on with you and to help you with it if you ask. um, so yeah.
Now, after a year or so, when things are different, what do they say it's like then? Oftentimes,
um, they they spend a lot, I've noticed. Well, I'll just say with my parents, let's say, okay. I've noticed that sometimes they come in together, you know and sometimes they carry the personalities. They always carry the personality that they had when they were alive. um, it's just more refined in some way. But like, I'll have my parents come in, and my mother will do all the talking. Well, she always did. you and she'll say, your dad's here, but I want to talk to you. And so sometimes my dad just kind of sneaks in by himself and talks to me, you know. It's like she leaves her, like, you know, she's with her sisters. That's okay, you know. And so he'll come and talk to me. um, and it was just like it was when we were alive, you know, the private conversations that I would have about, you know, well, so what's next? What should I do with my life next? I would get those with my dad, not as frequently as my mom would pop in and give me the cheerleader routine, you know. That's okay. I like that. But dad would give me the philosophical, and that was the way they were in life, you know.
What do they? Do you ever hear about their house? I mean, are they talking about they're working out in the garden, or going on walks and?
Well, they do show me images of that. Um, they don't have a house like we have a house, but they will show a house, you know, like it could be a house in memory, you know, that they inhabit. They inhabit these houses, how shall I say, that are astrally connected to them. Does that make sense? And so the house of that my father grew up in exists over there, even though that house has been torn down. It exists in his memory, and so he inhabits it if he so desires. You know.
Fascinating. This is incredible, and I appreciate you talking about the transition too, because that connects to a lot of other research. But the way you presented it seems like a really easy to understand. Like you're going through some type. Certain people go through more healing than others, and then you don't like to deal with people that go through a lot of traumatic experiences because you're seeing it like you would a horror movie. I don't like to watch horror movies that much. I mean, it's got to have some
Close my
sci-fi to
eyes.
it. Yeah. So I mean, that's got to be very hard on you as a soul and somebody that has caring for people and emotions. You probably pick up on that, like empathy, right? Or not
Well,
empathy,
you
but
do,
empathetic, or whatever the term is.
yeah, you do pick up on it, but you try to let it move through you and not carry it. You know, it's kind of like, to be a medium, you have to be, for lack of a better image, I'm seeing a garden hose. You know, it's like it comes through and it goes through the channel and then it goes out. And then you don't hang on to it. You can't hang on to it. You know, people will come back to me and say, you know, that was such a good reading. I want another one. And it's like, well, it hasn't been 6 months and I'm not going to read for you. It hasn't been 6 months yet. Things won't change that drastically in your life, uh, unless 6 months have passed. And over there, it's like, you know, they're on to something else. So just let it settle, the information, let it settle, and then come back to it later. So that's what I always say.
What about reincarnation?
Oh, well, I think that it's a wonderful thing. I tell you, can I tell you a dream?
Please.
So I had this dream that I was, I don't know, I'll say up in heaven or something. I was somewhere in the astral world, and there was this great big cauldron full of jello kind of stuff, and I was up there with these angels, and we were sliding these different glass plates around, making different colors, and they had astrological symbols on them, and I was just moving them around. And I'm since I'm an astrologer, and I looked at these symbols, I go, oh, that's really an interesting pattern. You know, that person's got a lot of stuff they're going to work on. And the angels go, yeah, jump in. I was like, oh, so that's how it works.
That's kind of spooky because and exciting at the same time. Reminds me of the movie Beastmaster, except for a lot happier. Where I don't know if you saw that movie from the '80s, where there's those witches that they weren't the prettiest witches though, and there's this big cauldron, and they're stirring stuff up, and they're like, yes, look at them in there. So it's kind of like, but you were having a happy experience, and they were saying you can go experience what they're experiencing. It's kind of like that, right?
Right,
Be our
right.
headset, go live it.
Right. And I don't think that we, you know, nobody who ever accomplishes anything of importance has an easy life, you know. They don't. People who accomplish great things are people who have challenges, you know, from the get-go, and learn that's I guess the Jewish rabbis would say, that's your tikkun, Tikkune. That's your tikkun. That's the karma. That's the problem that you hit every single time. Like I always pick unavailable partners, you know, or no matter what I do, I don't get recognized for it. Those are your tikkuns. And you can look at somebody's astrological chart and say, yep, that happens to them every single time. Now, why does that happen? Because there's something they have to realize about that situation that's about themselves. And if you don't see the problem, if you don't get confronted with the problem often enough, you don't recognize that what you really have to do is give yourself credit, not ask for it from somebody out there, but that you say, it doesn't matter. I know what I've done and I am proud of it. And when you do that, then you start getting the recognition that you need. You've overcome your karmic debt, and we have a lot of them, a lot of these karmic debts we have to deal with. So one at a time. And if you can do one or two in a lifetime, you're lucky, I think.
Jeez. Now, the Egyptians were so advanced with astrology, numerology, and also, I feel, somatics. They were extremely good at frequencies,
Mhm.
manipulation, and control. What can you tell us about the Book of the Dead? Because when you said you translated much of the Book of the Dead, you can already read what the hieroglyphics say in English, that translation. So you were taking it to like the third, fourth level.
Yeah, yeah, because if you take let's just say one hieroglyph, one little hieroglyph, all right, and you're looking at this hieroglyph, and it's a dung beetle. It's a familiar one. Everybody knows the dung beetle, and you could say, okay, that word translates as being. So you ask, why does a dung beetle translate as being? Why not an antelope? Why not, a human? What does a dung beetle have to do with being? And so you start looking at it and you realize that there's this whole story inside why the dung beetle is the image of being. Uh, and that's because it lays its eggs in a ball of cow manure and it leaves it there for 28 days and then buries it in the ground and then digs it back up. And then these winged dung beetles fly out and they little babies fly up toward the sun. They're gold and it's the image of light. So all of that story around there is actually a story about being. First of all, that we are made from light. Okay, that's one of the first things you know about the dung beetle. And that's the essence of being a being of light. Okay, so how do we become a being of light? So we have these eggs that are laid in this ball of cow manure and transformed in the dark. And so that's the whole psychological interpretation of what it means to take the negative in your life, those little seeds of things that it was like, and it's all rolled up in this ball of cow manure. Don't you know the cow manure of your life is just like what we were talking about? It's going to be the process of creating light in your being.
Oh,
And that is a symbol in the ancient Egyptian of alchemy, turning lead or something that's a negative into gold, something that's a positive. My daddy used to say, can I say this? Can I use a bad word? Okay.
Sure.
So my daddy used to call it turning shit into
no.
shinola, and that really is what it's about. It's about turning a negative into a positive, transformationally within yourself, taking that
Okay, cool.
tikkun and making it something beautiful and
Yeah,
healing
alright, so we're
and
gonna pick it
spiritual
up.
because it's
Oh,
flying up
okay,
to
it's
God,
kind of late
right?
now. So,
So there's the whole
gonna hit
myth
save
that's
now,
inside this
and
dung
we're gonna
beetle
pick
when
it
you're
up.
talking about being. The dung beetle
Um,
also means to create, to become
Tomorrow-ish
any kind of existence, any type of beginning, starting
or
something out.
something. So,
So Like if I'm translating a line in the hieroglyphs, and there's
So
a whole row of dung beetles in it. Dung beetle,
yeah.
dung beetle, dung beetle, with a little couple of extra little sounds. You know, I have to
But yeah,
translate
the
it
UVs
in
at least
a
are
slightly different way.
fixed.
It's like
So
Kefara, Kefere, Keferu, Kepera,
I'm kinda happy
Imrea. So
for that.
what it translated into was in the
It's funny it
beginning,
happened on
which is the
stream.
dung
I
beetle.
couldn't
I
figure out before.
became the dung beetle.
So
The
yeah,
becoming
have a good one
dung
and
beetle.
stay safe.
Being dung beetle.